Well, at present we have about 114 nuns. They are all from the Himalayan regions, both the Indian Himalayas like Ladakh and Kinnoa Spiti, and through to Nepal and Bhutan. And they range in age from about 4 to 50. Mostly they're teenagers, 20s, 30s. The older ones, because they've been with us for 20 years. So when they came, they were probably in their 20s. Now they're well in their 40s. Well, let's all these questions. Let's see. A few of them are Tibetan, but they're Tibetans who came from Tibet originally, because now the borders are closed. Tibetans cannot come from Tibet anymore. So they usually come to the nunnery when they're teenagers. They've been to school, and then they decide they would like to be nuns. Their families, they all come from regions in which there are monasteries and nunneries. All these Himalayan regions are Buddhist. So even though maybe they're geographically India, culturally, spiritually, they're Tibetan. And previously they could go back over to Tibet. Now, of course, they can't go to Tibet, but they come down to the monasteries and nunneries in India. So they come as lay girls normally. They stay as lay girls for some months in the nunnery. They join the classes and start learning Tibetan, which is the first thing they need to learn. And then after some weeks or months, if they're suitable, usually they are suitable, but the nuns have to agree that they want them in the nunnery. They have to agree they want to be nuns. Then they receive their primary ordination from our Lama Kamtu Rinpoche. So this is the basic 5 precepts, like not killing, not stealing, and in this case, celibacy and so forth. Just the basic 5 precepts. And then after some years of living here, they receive what is called the novice ordination, the Shiksama ordination. In the Tibetan tradition, there's no higher ordination for nuns. It's something we've been trying to work at for many, many years, but there's a lot of resistance to having fully ordained nuns, even though the Buddha himself ordained. Recently in Bhutan, they did give the full ordination, but that's been ignored by the Tibetans. Anyway, then the nuns, first they study Tibetan, both oral and written Tibetan, and they also learn English. But the main emphasis, once they know enough Tibetan, is Buddhist philosophy and debate, and also rituals. They're very good in ritual. The pujas, right? They have long pujas, 4-hour pujas. There's a 12-year study program. And then several of our nuns who have already graduated are now themselves teachers. So the ones who wish to carry on with teaching are able to do that, to teach the younger nuns as they come up. Nuns also have an option to drop out after a few years if they really don't want to study anymore. But almost none of them do, very, very few. They mostly, they get to know each other, and they go up class by class. And so they stay for the 12 years of study. We also have a retreat center with, at the moment, currently 12 nuns in long-term retreat. Several have already completed 13 years of retreat and are still going. In our monastery, which is down the road from us, the glory of the monastery are the yogi monks who in Tibet lived in caves, but they're called Togdens, and they're very special practitioners. They also have a lifelong vow of practice, and so they come to teach our nuns. So we are hoping that in time some of our retreat nuns will become Togdenma and start this yogic tradition for women, which my Lama Kamtu Rinpoche had requested me to reintroduce back in India now. So they're doing very well. They're very, very dedicated. I go to see them every 2 weeks. Otherwise, they usually don't see people, but they are a very cheerful lot. So they're fine. The nuns get up at 5 o'clock, 5 a.m. Some get up at 4 in order to do their personal practice, but in general, 5 o'clock wake up time, and then they do a 1-hour Tara Puja. And then after that, we all sit for half an hour in silence, in silent meditation. And then after that, various ones do sweeping or various other work around the nunnery, and then they have breakfast. Various classes take up the morning and much of the afternoon, and then at 4 o'clock they do debating, which is this special method of debate which was introduced into Tibet from Nalanda University in India back in the 10th century, right? So they do debating for 2 hours, then at 6 o'clock they do puja for 1 hour, protection pujas and something called chut. Then after that, they have supper, and then they do their homework and memorizing. A lot of emphasis on memorizing the texts. And then lights out at 11 o'clock. In July and August, the nuns do a 2-month silent retreat. That's during the monsoon rains, and until the beginning of the new term in September. And since it is a nunnery and not just an academic institute, the nuns expect to stay here for life.